This video and all of its contents, including any opinions expressed by the narrator, are strictly for entertainment purposes only and is not intended in any way as a substitute for professional services and consultation from a licensed therapist, doctor, attorney, or other licensed professional service provider. Each person must make their own life decisions, and those decisions are theirs. Welcome back to Find Your Alpha, your favorite channel on YouTube. And today we've got another great story for you. And this one's all about cheating and open relationships. And this story is one you'll definitely want to listen to because in the end, this guy handles this situation like a boss. Now, let's get into the story here. But before we do, I want to have you watch out for this theme. Open relationships are just a way to legitimize cheating. If a partner even brings up the subject in a serious manner, you should immediately move to end the relationship or face a life of mental distress. Now, let's get into the story, and here's the title coming right up on your screen. My boyfriend rejected my open relationship suggestion, so I just cheated on him. I hope he never finds out. And this story dates back to November of 2019. She starts out by saying, I'm a 25-year-old female and my boyfriend is 26. We first got together when I was 18 and he was 19. We dated for 3.5 years and then decided to move in together when he graduated from college. We have been living together ever since and get along great. So they've got a long-term relationship here, and he's really putting her through the paces here, checking her out, dating her for 3.5 years. Now he's been living with her for 3.5 years before he moves potentially to the next step. We are best friends and best lovers. I am crazy about him and hope one day to be his bride and the mother of his children. This is one thing that gets me in all these stories, how the woman really builds up her man as being this ideal guy that she loves and her whole world is wrapped up in him, but yet in the story, she ends up cheating on him. I hope we would be married by now, but I accept his plan to get established before making such a life-changing commitment. Here's my dilemma. Recently, a new employee joined our company who works closely with me. Call him Jay. Enter the story, Jay. In fact, I was responsible for onboarding Jay and providing him with basic training. He's a former professional athlete and is in great shape. To make this long story shorter, Jay is married and he and his wife have an open marriage. They have one child that was conceived while his wife was married to another man. So Jay and his wife are cheaters. His wife still maintains a physical relationship with her ex and with others. Oh boy. While we were talking one day, Jay told me all this. At first, I thought it was just a strange and perverted situation, which it is, especially the relationship his wife has with her ex-husband. During the conversation, he asked me what I thought about open relationships, and I told him I was totally against it, and that I would never want to share my husband or give myself to another man. And I have to say, the way she handled herself right there was totally appropriate. She did a good job. Now, as the conversation went on, she says, our conversation about the subject ended with Jay saying to me, let me know if you ever want to try it sometime. I think you would change your mind. She says, I was taken back by this, but just laughed and changed the subject. Well, let me just say right here to this Jay, you must be off your rocker talking to a woman like that in the workplace, especially as a new employee. You could have been fired from that job right on the spot and probably should have been. She says, as the weeks have passed, the work relationship between Jay and I has gotten closer. I also must confess that I have developed a strong carnal desire for him. So she wants that athlete body. Over the past week, we've started flirting with each other, and I'm starting to get worried as I know where this is going. I've not discussed this with my boyfriend, as he would leave me on the spot, which he should. It's not that he is possessive in any way, but he firmly believes in the one woman, one man concept. So even me flirting with Jay would be a huge breach for him. While this is a major risk, I've decided I'm going to take a gamble and talk to my boyfriend about open relationships to gauge his interest. I have a few questions for those of you who have experience with these relationships. First, how did you start the conversation? Second, what did you say? Third, what happened to your relationship with your partner? Did it improve or get worse after it was opened? Thank you for reading my post and for any replies you send me. I'll try to read and reply to everyone. All the best to you. So that was her original post. Now we're going to go through and take a look at a few responses that she got back from the community. The first one is from a man. He says, "Your relationship is over. From the way you describe your boyfriend, he is a high value man with a college degree and conservative values. If so, he's never going to accept this. Do you realize the failure rate for open marriages is something like 90%? You're not even married, so for you, the failure rate will be 100%. Just break up, and then you can take in as many big sticks as you want." Here's one from a woman. She says, "It sounds like your relationship with your boyfriend may be struggling, even though you say it's not. If so, let me tell you from experience, having relations with other men will not fix it. I had the bright idea of opening my marriage back in 2015. I thought things were going great until my husband served me divorce papers 30 days later. I still regret it and miss him today." Here's another reply here from a woman, and stick with me on this one because it's a long reply, but it's very interesting. She says, "What you need to do is just sit down with your boyfriend and first explain how much you love him and only him, and then discuss how entertaining other men will benefit him." Yeah, I'd like to hear how by you entertaining other men, that's going to benefit your boyfriend. No, it definitely won't benefit your boyfriend. She says, "This will require that you maintain a very healthy S drive with him and do things for him that perhaps you don't like doing or haven't done before. If he doesn't see the benefit, then it's not going to work." That's how you can get away with an open relationship, girl. All you got to do is love bomb him. Give him things you've never given him before. Rock his world, and he will let you do anything. And she goes on here. "Here are a few ground rules for you to follow. First, you will always require your partners to wear protection and will always shower thoroughly and brush and gargle after every meeting." First of all, woman, let me tell you this. No woman out there that I've come across, that I've been with, has ever required me to wear protection. I always do proactively. And then they ask me, "Why are you wearing protection? I'm on the pill or I'm using some other kind of birth control." You don't need that. Let me tell you something. If this woman gets into the heat of the situation with Jay, she's not going to require him to wear protection. I guarantee it. The other thing here about showering thoroughly or taking long baths, that doesn't clear the swimmers out of you. Those swimmers can remain inside you for a week. I've even read some articles that say they can be in there for more than 10 days. So you can take a bath for an hour, you can shower for 5 hours, and it's not going to clear you out. And then the part of brushing and gargling, that's just gross. Just gross, okay? Next, you will be available for S anytime your boyfriend wants it. Kissing will be minimized during these meetings, and you will not develop any feelings beyond just physical satisfaction from your lovers. You will tell him 24 hours before any meeting. You will get monthly STD panels during those times you are having relations with others. My hubby and I have been in an open marriage for the past 15 months, and so far it has worked very well. We both were equally interested in the concept from the start and have enjoyed multiple partners. I've had 3, and he's had 2 thus far. He did start developing feelings of love for one of his partners and took a break from her for 60 days, and now we're back on track. Good luck to you. Well, the reason why your husband started having feelings for another woman is because he doesn't like this open relationship situation. Okay, here's the last response. This one's from a guy. He says, "You, my dear, are a born cheater. You're either wired that way or you're not, and you are definitely wired that way. If your boyfriend is not wired that way, and by how you describe him, I'd say he's not, then your relationship will end as soon as you mention it. Get your ducks in order and plan for your next move before you speak to him, as I see a breakup in your future." Now, we're at a point in this story where I want to encourage you, if you're liking what you hear, hit that like button. That will move this video up on the YouTube algorithm and get it seen all over the world. Now, let's go on with the story, and we're going to get into a series of updates here. The first one's from November 9th, so just a few days later. She said, "I had the conversation with my boyfriend, and he shot the whole thing down. I didn't come out and ask him for an open relationship. Instead, I told him about Jay. I told him he was a new employee and that my coworkers told me he and his wife were in an open marriage and that his wife still sleeps with her ex-husband." Well, right there, she's lying to her husband because Jay told her this. Her coworkers didn't tell her. My boyfriend immediately said, "That's just disgusting." He said this Jay must be a simp, as no man would ever accept his woman getting plowed by another man. He went on to say that Jay's wife is just nasty, and said some other words I will not write here. Hearing this, I just laughed and agreed with him and started talking about something else. It looks like my fantasy of experiencing physical pleasure with Jay will not be happening, at least not anytime soon. In the meantime, I'm going to step up our activity at home to quench this burning desire within me. Thank you for listening and good luck. So that was her first update. And now she's back with an update from December 2nd of 2019, so about 3 weeks later. She says, "I'm back with an update, but for a different but related reason. I made a terrible mistake, which has cost me my relationship with my boyfriend and any hope I had for marrying and having children with him. If you recall my last update, I said my boyfriend shot down the idea of an open relationship, and I decided not to pursue it further. Well, a week later, my boyfriend went to Chicago for a trade show, and I was home all alone from Tuesday through Thursday of that week. On Tuesday morning, Jay and I were flirting heavily in the office, and during that lunch hour, we went over to his apartment and we did it. I regret this so much now, and I can't believe I was so stupid and selfish." We repeated the same on Thursday. So she just told us that, she regretted this and oh, she's so sorry. But then she goes and repeats it again on Thursday. She says, "The S was very good, but not as fulfilling as with my boyfriend. While Jay has a great body, he wasn't as good as my boyfriend. Also, since there was no underlying love, the act just felt empty. After our Thursday meeting, I planned to make it our last meeting, but didn't want to hurt Jay's feelings, so I didn't say anything that day." Let me tell you something here, guys. In all of these cheating stories, when a woman is caught, she ends up saying two things. Number one, "This was the first and only time I did this." Number two, "Oh, that last meeting I had with this guy, that was going to be my final one. That was going to be our final one. We broke it off, or we were going to break it off." Both of those are just lies. They are coping mechanisms. That's it. Another side note, I was appalled at the way Jay and his wife live. Their apartment is crammed with exercise equipment, and it's just a mess with clothes strewn everywhere and everything out of place. My boyfriend and I are real neatniks, so this really bothered me and kind of took away from the experience. Sorry for the digression, but I just had to get that out there. It grossed me out. And the reason why I think she put this in here, because it's just like an abstract that she pulled in, is she wants to convey to everybody, oh, this Jay means nothing to me. He's gross. Ooh, my boyfriend is who I really love. This Jay was just a flash in the pan type of thing. That's the only reason why she brought this in here, because there's no reason to put this into this posting. Later on Thursday, my relationship with my boyfriend and my life of happiness came to an abrupt end. Now, listen to what our man does here and how he handles this situation. When I got home, my boyfriend was already there, and I could tell something was up. He was standing at the door with his coat on and his car keys in his hand. I was so happy to see him, and I went in for a kiss and hug, but he just kept me away with the palm of his hands. Well, thank goodness he did, because just a few hours earlier, you were with your boyfriend, Jay. What he said next just destroyed me. He said that he was contacted through social media by Jay's wife, who asked if he would like to meet up and possibly go on a date, since Jay and I were now in a physical relationship. They set up a call, and she told him all about my relationship with Jay. Apparently, she and Jay like hooking up with couples. It's their biggest turn on. She says, ugh. So this Jay and his wife, one of them goes out and lands, the husband or wife of a couple, and then brings the other one in to have relationships, and they like doing it with couples. Man, these people, again, unbelievable, folks. Hearing this knocked the air out of me, and I nearly passed out and had to sit down. I immediately started explaining and apologizing, but he just said, "Be quiet." He next handed me a document that was a notice of eviction. He said he drew it up himself using an online template and would be filing it legally. Good for you, boyfriend. He told me I've got 30 days to vacate before he takes legal action. In the meantime, he said he would be staying with his parents and I should not contact him. With this, I started crying and again tried to reach for him, but he kept me away. He then ran out the door, down the parking lot to his car, and sped away. I tried to catch him, but he was too fast. I then tried contacting him for the next 3 hours, but he never responded. I then called his mom to ask if he was there. She said yes, he was, but was not available to speak. I asked her if I could come over, and she told me no, and then said I was not welcome there anymore. Well, good for you. Here's another mama bear sticking up for her son. And a lot of these situations I see with women who cheat, a lot of times the guy's mother and his sisters will end up siding with the woman who cheated on him, which is just crazy. I'm liking these stories where we see the mom stepping up and saying, you're not doing that to my son. Get out of here. Hit the road. I don't want to see you anymore. He doesn't want to see you anymore. Good for you, Mama Bear. Hearing her say this just tore me apart. I tried to explain to her that I made a big mistake and that I would never hurt him again, but she just said, okay, yeah, and then asked if I had anything else to say. When I said no, she said, you take care and have a nice life, and hung up on me. I was miserable all night and just kept sending texts to my boyfriend, some of which were crazy looking back on it. In addition to telling him I was so sorry and I loved him and only him, I sent him a text saying the S meant nothing. Here's another one saying the S meant nothing. It was just a stupid experiment and that he was so much better. It's probably something I shouldn't have said, but it's true. I thought boosting his ego might get him to break down and reach out to me, but it didn't. The next day I drove to his office. I didn't go in, but instead sent him a text saying I was outside in the parking lot and would be there all day as I want to talk to him. He didn't respond, but at around 11 a.m., I saw him walking towards my car. Seeing his beautiful face walking towards me made me break out in tears, as I love this man so much. I thought he was going to come to the car, pull me out, and start hugging and kissing me. But instead, he walked to the passenger side and got in. We spent the next hour talking, and he let me go on and say my piece without interrupting. After I got everything out, he spoke up and said that cheating is a deal breaker for him and that our relationship is over. He said he'd like to remain on civil terms, but will have nothing to do with me from this point forward. He was very calm and didn't mince words when he spoke, despite my constant pleading for him to give me a second chance. As we were about to end our conversation, I asked him, "Where will I go when I move out?" He knows I can't afford an apartment on my own in the metro area. He told me I'd have to figure that out, but he said he would give me a check when I left that would be equal to his portion of our expenses for a month so that I could get on my feet in another place. Well, listen, I'm going to talk to the boyfriend here. Don't do that. You don't owe her anything. She cheated on you. Don't be giving her money, to get on her feet. Just say, "Hey, it's over. Let's remain civil. Have a nice life, and I hope everything works out for you. That's it. Go on your way, save your money, invest it somewhere." I again tried begging for mercy and pleading with him, but he just kept saying no to everything. Finally, when I was out of things to say, I asked if I could kiss and hug him, and he said he'd hug me, but no kissing. I don't blame you, guy, because you don't know where her mouth has been. We hugged for a good 10 minutes before he made me release him. With that, he left and went back into his office, and I sat there bawling my eyes out and cursing myself for the next hour. Now I'm back here with another set of questions, but this time as a remorseful cheater. She asks, "Can my relationship be saved?" I'll give you the answer, no. "Is there something I can do to make my boyfriend trust me again?" No, you can't. You blew the situation. "I swear this is a one and done thing for me. I'd really like to hear from women who've cheated, especially those that were able to stay together. I will do anything to get him back as I'm struggling without him." Thank you for the replies you've already sent and for any replies I get to this posting. You don't know how much sharing this with someone has helped me. I'm so embarrassed by what I did that I don't want to talk about it with anyone I know. Having this community to message with has been a lifesaver. Thanks again from the bottom of my heart. And now here's a few responses she got to her update. The first one's from a woman. She says, "Any man that would just cast you aside because you messed up once in 7 years is not worth keeping around. It sounds like he is the passive aggressive type." How many times have we seen women describe their boyfriends who will not give them a second chance, or men that will not give women a second chance, as being passive aggressive? That must be some lingo that they're all using now. She said, "These guys tend to have anger management problems. Get rid of him and find someone better. I predict one day he'll come begging to you to take him back, and then you can have the pleasure of telling him to go blank himself." Here's one from a guy. He says, "I believe you are sincere and are truly remorseful, but I can tell you from experience there is no recovering from cheating. In my own experience, my wife had an affair with a coworker from another city when they were at a work convention together. She immediately confessed when she got home, and after much deliberation, I decided to stay with her." Big mistake, mister. He says, "While my wife did all she could to make up for her cheating, and I tried my best to move on, I just couldn't. We ended up divorcing 5 months later. It was hard for both of us, but deciding to move on was the best decision of my life. I'm now happily remarried and have two great kids. My ex now lives with an older divorced guy from her job. I hope she is now happy too. And now we're going to get to the final update. And this is from January 19th of 2020. She says, "It's been a while and many of you have messaged me asking for an update on my relationship. I'm sad to say that my boyfriend and I are officially broken up. After weeks of my begging him for another chance, I realized he wasn't going to change his mind. I ended up quitting my job and moving back to my hometown. I'm living with my parents temporarily until I get back on my feet." I had another story like this where a woman cheated and she was off in another city with her boyfriend or fiance, and then she had to move back to her hometown. She says, "I couldn't afford to live in the city alone, and I didn't want to stay working in the same company with Jay, so I pulled up stakes and moved back home. I regret so much what I've done. I ruined my life. Yes, I know I can start over, but it's so hard. Finding a man is easy, but finding a great man like my boyfriend is extremely difficult. My grandma always told me that finding a great man is like finding a diamond in a coal mine. She said if you ever find one, you need to hold on to it and treasure it forever. She told me several times that she thought my boyfriend was a diamond and that I was one of the lucky ones. Boy, was she right. As for my boyfriend, he seems to be doing great without me. He continues to do well in his job and has never once reached out to me. I sent him several texts over the holidays and he never responded, so I finally just gave up. I'm really depressed now, but recently started individual counseling, and it's really helping me a lot. I want to address something here with some of the haters in this community. The label of once a cheater, always a cheater is not true for everyone, and it's definitely not true for me. I will never cheat on a partner again. You can mark my words on that. Well, let me just say one thing to you here, original poster. Cheating is almost like alcoholism. You can get on the straight and narrow and sober up in the case of an alcoholic, but you're always going to be an alcoholic. And it's the same thing for a cheater. Just like one of the responders said, you're either wired that way or you're not. There's some people that you can tempt them with the most beautiful woman in the world or a woman with the best looking guy in the world, and they're not going to cheat. You can offer them $1 million and they're not going to cheat. While there's other people that are just predisposed to cheating. You, my dear, are predisposed to cheating. So even though you say you're never going to cheat, that temptation, if it ever crosses your door again, potentially you could break down. That's all I'll say about this. She said, also, my counselor said that most people who cheat often never cheat again. So there you have it from a professional. So you can all just shove it, she says. Thanks again to everyone, except the haters, who replied to my postings. Your wisdom and encouragement are helping me get through this awful phase of my life. Live and learn, as they say. Best of luck to everyone. So that's her story. And again, I'm going to say to her boyfriend, Mister, you handled this like a boss. As soon as you found out, you immediately took action. You didn't waste any time. You gave her eviction papers and you started the process to move her out of your apartment and move her out of your life. And it will be one of the best decisions you've made in your life when you look back on it in 5 years. You may be hurting now, and of course, he was with this woman for 7 years, so he's going to have very strong feelings. He's going to feel a sense of loss. But I guarantee as time goes on, he's going to be feeling better and better. And eventually he's going to say, wow, man, I dodged a bullet there. And going back to these open relationships, they are nothing more than a pass to cheat, a free pass to cheat. If ever you have a woman pitch you on an open relationship, like I said up front, you immediately end that relationship. Or you switch it immediately to a friends with benefits relationship. Because any kind of serious monogamous relationship is over at that point once they bring that up. But now I want to hear from you. Those were my thoughts. I want to hear from you. What did you think of this video? What do you think of these open relationships? Have any of you out there been in an open relationship? And let us know. Let us know how it turned out. I'm really curious. I've never heard one of these stories where an open relationship has ever worked out for the people involved in it. And just like one of the posters said, I read an article recently that said 92% of marriages that are opened end up failing. So let us hear from you. Also, if you like this video, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and please subscribe to this great channel. And I will talk to you all on the